Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Curious is Better podcast. I'm Craig Lamb with Invative, and today we have Patrick Tobin from Han-Tek with us. Welcome, Patrick. How are you?
Thank you, Craig. Happy to be here.
Great. So, listen, let's just jump right in. Give us. I already know because I've known you for years, but give us a backstory on Han-Tek and how the company started and what you guys do.
Yeah, so I'll give you the 50,000 foot elevator pitch. We're a materials handling company, started about 65 years ago here in Rochester. Two owners over the period of that time. We were originally part of the Raytech group, which for those familiar with the Rochester area materials handling environment, that was Dave Ray's company. Dave owned Gore-Bell, Retrotech, and Han-Tek. In 1996, my father was running Han-Tek, and he and Dave came to an agreement for my father to buy him out. And we, to this day, remain close with the Raytech group. And Brian Ray now, who still owns and operates Gore-Bell, we're a distributor for them, but the other side of that coin was the Retrotech group. So Han-Tek was the materials handling and manufacturing industrial automation side of the house. Retrotech was the distribution automation side of the house. They got sold off to another company in, I want to say 2014.
That was a bit ago.
And then they were resold to a large multinational a couple of years later. A lot of the players who were over there that I knew well from when I was young in high school and such, and young working at our company, were very good at what they did and enjoyed the small company environment. So some of them migrated over our way, and we kind of wrapped that industrial distribution and automation side of the automation house into our portfolio. And now we really do any sort of material movement inside a manufacturing or distribution facility that you can think of.
Well, you didn't mention yourself too much, but you're being humble because you've been in the game a while. So,
Yeah.
right.
You could say that, or you could just say I'm old.
We're both in that category, man. But anyway, you get to see a lot. But and on that topic too. So in your business, because we're both in tech. I mean, what are you seeing as far as the changes in expectations in automation and material handling?
Yeah. It's been interesting. The industry, like so many others, is just constantly evolving as technology continues to evolve, and the things that we can do are becoming so much more sophisticated and nuanced to apply to each individual application and a much more custom fit. So, you go back to the 80s and 90s, and if you were getting into robotic automation and vision, it was kind of like black magic. And some people look at you like, "Are you really gonna roll the dice on that?" And
to that point too, I bet there's a bunch of stuff that you did 10 years ago or the stuff you're doing today 10 years ago, you're like, oh, we won't get into that.
Yeah, it's like Star Trek. It's crazy the things we're able to do today. Really the question today becomes more in line with what do you really want to achieve, and where's the logical efficiency and payback for you in implementing automation versus other manual or human related operations. Because you can do almost anything today.
Yeah, well, we've talked about this too. Like your business, or our business, like your business, is that custom isn't a luxury, right? It's just there's such nuance, and people are using them as differentiators to their market, right? So your projects they're all custom, almost, right? Is almost everything a custom?
Yeah, I mean, if we're lucky, then something will be similar to other projects we've done, and maybe you're able to implement something along the lines of like the 80-20 rule, where you can use some of the technology from one of your old solutions, and you're able to make a couple tweaks to it and implement that solution. And generally speaking, that is the case. But is there anything that we're doing that's a complete replica? Almost never. The closest thing that we would do would be probably some gantry greens or some small work cells that have great similarity to some of the other work that we've done in that space. But so much of it, the customer's product, their throughput, their seasonality, their SKUs, their SKU count, their layout of their plant, everything is unique, and we look at that as a huge opportunity to be able to provide them with the most appropriate solution for their particular needs, and it's really where we live.
Yeah, well, so let's talk about that because being in the custom world, right? What's the process that you guys have laid out at Han-Tek for establishing requirements, and understanding workflows and things like that? So how do you go about doing that when you engage?
Great question. Great question. So it's two-sided, right? So on the customer interface side, to us it's always a partnership. It needs to be, right? So we're going to go through it. We're going to work with them to understand exactly what they're doing, what their needs are, and they are still the expert in their particular industry. Otherwise we would be there. We're not. We're in the automation business. So while we're experts in automation and material movement, we rely on their expertise in their particular industry, and taking that into account as we work through particular applications. So you tell us what the particular nuances are of shipping and receiving, of inventory control, of product movement, of whatever the other particulars are of your industry, and we'll work to put that into a model and do the appropriate data analytics to figure out what type of solution best fits you. And then on top of that, you're going to have whatever particular items are important to you. I'll use an example of a customer we did some work with here in town that was putting in an automated storage and retrieval system, and they wanted us to look at their overall product flow. As we did that, there were a number of different return opportunities for automation, some no-brainers and some stretches. And one of the ones in that particular application that we looked at as a little bit of a stretch, you could do it, but the return wasn't great, were automatically guided vehicles. But it turned out for that particular customer that this was going to be a showpiece facility where they wanted to make sure when they brought customers in to see what they were doing, that the customers had a chance to see how advanced they were, and they wanted them to see the AGVs running around. So, that it's perfectly logical and makes sense. But without the interface with them, we wouldn't have had that insight. So, it's continuing to iterate. You design, you look at all the components, and then you come back to them with what that solution looks like, and you figure out what is good about what you're doing and where they like some other things. And it's making sure you roll into all of the different players that are involved. Purchasing is going to have one view. IT is going to have another view. Operations is going to have another view. And the guys that can never be overlooked are your boots on the ground guys that really understand where the bodies are buried and what's going on. And they're
So
all.
Patrick, this always comes up for us too, is like when you're calculating ROI, you just named a bunch of points of view, right? So, and I'm sure that there's, like some projects are just like bursting with ROI, and then some, you kind of have to like clear the dirt to figure out where it's going to be. Because some of that stuff, like you just mentioned, was like brand image, right? Like how do you quantify just looking innovative and smart? But so like, how do you walk through your clients when you have a project where you're trying to make the ROI overt? Or maybe it's just overt on its own, but like, how do you reveal that and quantify ROI when you're laying these things out?
I think it's understanding their metrics. What's
Maybe throughput, right?
Throughput. Further, what are the other things that are important to you? Is it, a certain amount of efficiency? Is it a certain amount of, turnover from one SKU to another just in time? Is it, how quickly you're able to get a truck out of the dock? Or is it having just the most efficient possible cube in your automated storage and retrieval system? Is it having some other metric like goodwill or branding as a component? And then you start looking at it from that perspective. But a lot of it does come down to things that are dependent on the company themselves. It ends up being reasonably clear with regard to what your operational savings are versus what the investment is. As long as you do a good job of analyzing all of the things that are going to go into the solution, like there is a tendency to, depending on who you're talking to, be over aggressive or under aggressive with regard to what the expected operational costs are once you're finished, right? That if you're talking to a line manager who really wants a job to happen, then they might underplay the importance of operational maintenance and what the cost of having people around to take care of it are. If you're talking to somebody who's more concerned with getting the best ROI and shortened number of months to return, then they may be looking at something that discounts some of those values. Ultimately, our goal is just to make sure that they're hitting their internal needs and achieving their corporate strategy. So, yeah,
Yeah.
if
So
it's
when you're talking to people, because this comes up a lot, this is going to sound dismissive, but it's not. Sometimes people come to us and they outline these projects that they want, but there's tons of signals where it's like you don't want to do that, or you're not ready for that, or your infrastructure won't support it, or you don't have like really any signals of adoption in your staff, and you want to kind of steer them. It's like this might not be for you. This project's not for you right now. Do you guys ever come along or come into those types of scenarios?
Yeah, for sure. Particularly with the type of company who's on a growth path, who's been doing a lot of things manually, who's hit a point of excellence and manual operation, but they understand that in order to go to the next level, you're going to cap out at a certain point with what you can do with that, manual labor. And there's a certain kind of some industries it might be tracking or traceability, right? You need to be able to report with great levels of accuracy how you handled things, what the batching was, where it came from, what other products were on that pallet, what run did it come from. Those are things that if you're handling them manually can be quite trying, but if it's all in an automated system, they become very clean and very clear. However, you may not have the talent that it takes in-house to be able to service the type of equipment that's going to provide those solutions. So how do you have that conversation with them as you're going through it? In our experience, I mean, the best thing to do is to be as transparent with them as possible and make sure that they understand what they're going to have to invest. And for that type of customer, we'll work with them to customize a solution where we can be that intermediary, but ultimately they want to take control of it. You want that capacity in-house. Um, you know, if your operation is dependent on having 24/7 uptime and you're counting on that throughput, the last thing you want is to wait 15 extra minutes for somebody to be on site. So, to be able to have your first line of defense be your own people right there, it's important. So, to your point, that's usually where we see, the challenges on that side of things is, hey, let's get you ready. Let's make sure that you're prepared so that once this goes in, you have a good experience. And, we're always going to be here to support it. We provide 24/7 support. You need that first line of defense to make sure it's up and running and you're going to have a successful throughput and all the metrics you wanted to hit are in line to be achieved.
It's the same thing. It's not exactly the same thing because you have mechanical issues that could come up, right? Ours is more of like, technology could rust because there's new, development kits and, technologies evolve and things like that. And we've had software that's been so fit, it'll run for 20 years, but they're not keeping their eye on it. The ROI keeps diminishing as well because whatever the software is that we wrote 20 years ago that they haven't kept up, they just start moving outside the system to handle it with whatever their evolving process might be. And then they find themselves evacuating from the software that they originally did to keep the efficiencies going, right? And sometimes those mentalities, they can transfer from industry to industry. I was curious if you had seen that.
100%. And we do have the software component, not as heavily as you do, but the backbone of a lot of our systems are software based. Warehouse control systems, warehouse management systems.
Yeah, sure. I remember. I mean, we've worked on a couple of projects with Han-Tek and RetroTech, and I remember that. But you have your own team now. Like
We do.
yeah,
Uh,
and that's that
and-
whole thing about fostering what you can manage internally. To your earlier comment.
but to draw back to your point, that's 100% correct, right? And it's not just on the software side. the reality is that most customers, their product mix changes over time. Their needs change over time. You try and look at your, current state, near future state, and future state. And we'll usually look at that as, current 3 years out, 5 to 10 years out, if possible. There's things that are going to change that you can't account for. And there's only a certain amount of flexibility that you can build into the system. And without having continuous support and understanding what changes need to be made to that equipment, and hopefully having designed in as much as reasonably possible, you still need to make those changes and updates along the way. We don't subscribe to kind of black box technology, but even still, you're likely going to want to keep us engaged because, as things need to be adapted.
Well, I'm sure that happens on the regular, right? I
Yeah.
mean, introduction of some new process into a workflow that's fit and tried and true.
Yeah.
You just have to make an adaptation.
Yeah, and like I said, it's there's two different models. I think you get a lot of the larger companies, and you get into some of those software packages, and those updates and those changes to the system are things that are factored into the overall project itself. For us, we just want you to have a successful project, and we don't necessarily need any sort of black box. If our customers want to make changes, we're okay with that. Of course, the stipulation to that being that they're responsible for whatever changes they make. But that's fine. We've never lived on that mentality. We just want to provide you good service and good support and a good solution.
Others do, though. Others do, right? It's going to be just integrated black box.
Yeah. It's a business model, and there's nothing wrong with it as long as the customers completely understand where that cost is going to live, and they're planning for it appropriately. It's the way that lots of different industries handle that.
You're being nice, though. I think it's such a limiter in just innovating for your clients. It's just like you go, well, I have this bias. This is the catalog of products that I use, or this is my integration catalog. Let's put something together. You're like, well, it's not perfect, but it's close enough. Where it's like when you're do custom, like it's all about you. What do you want it to be? We'll get there.
It is, right, but and maybe you're right. Maybe I'm being a little bit kind, but on the other hand, I mean, there's models where it works, right?
Certainly. There's a space for it.
Or the Google model where I'm going to give you a whole bunch of stuff for free. Mm-hmm. But then, if you want X, Y, Z on top of it, I'm going to charge you a lot.
Yes.
Okay, well, a lot of people are just going to take the free component to it and then, live off of that. And that's okay. It's just not something that works for us. The structure, the capital structure around how we have to operate and the project-based nature of how we have to do our business. We'd rather have you on as our partner than worry about that side of the business.
So I want to get into something. You and I have discussed this before, but I want to talk about it here too. Is that where are you guys seeing? That we're getting a bunch of AI projects, right? And the people are just trying to use their data sets to do some analysis, forecasting, optimizations and stuff. Do you guys see AI creeping in, and where you're going to be building out projects or using tools that could use or optimize workflow designs or handling designs? You see anything like that? Do you have any predictions?
Yeah, I mean, I think as we continue to see it grow, the model is so robust and so exponential in nature, and the way that it's adapting to different industries. The key for us is just trying to make sure we've got a pulse on where it's going and what it's doing and how it's able to have an effect. We've started an internal committee on where it can be the most impactful to our organization. And you're seeing it everywhere. I mean, you're seeing it from the solution side of things, how quickly we're able to turn some things around, to how coding is being handled, to
well, you're talking about even internally. You're not as an offering. You're using it to make yourself more efficient too. And
and I think externally in the automation industry, it's interesting, right? I mean, we're not quite as quick moving as software only, because there's a actual equipment component to what we do. So if somebody's going to buy something, they need to get a certain amount of time under operation with that equipment before
those cycles have rules, right, Patrick?
I've had customers before that kind of live with we're nimble, or we're what was the good line that I heard? We're agile. It's good, but you have a system that takes a year and a half start to finish to implement. So you're going to have to be nimble with patience. You know, uh, you have to be agile with an expectation that if you want to order a new piece of equipment, I have to make sure the engineering's right. We're going to send it out. It's got to be custom fabricated, and it's got to be commissioned and installed. So I'm right there with them, and we want to be there to be able to customize. If you want to continue to change things as they go, we'll be as quick as you possibly can ask for. But I do have a reality of getting the equipment and making sure that it's actually showing up and it's right for you. So there is a certain limitation on it where software, you can just be so quick, right? I mean, it can be done so responsive to all of that. But I think you're going to see it impact, and as it starts to learn, all of the efficiencies and all of the values that come through, and I mean that in the sense of the metrics and the actual values that we see coming from the equipment. You're going to see those continue to evolve. Something as straightforward as automated storage and retrieval. Now there's, very narrow aisle, and there's double deep, single deep, triple deep. There's, deep lean. There's, moles. There's AMR based systems, and there are so many potential solutions that are out there. And as you look at your particular application, you're going to need to understand what the values are that are going into your equation. So you're doing the data analysis to figure out why one is better for you than the other. And our goal is to just say, I don't have a preference for what the solution is. I just want to make sure it's the right solution for you, our customer, our partner. What's going to be the right application, and then we're agnostic towards the equipment. And hey, as long as it's the right product for you, and we're confident that it's going to do a good job. I'm somebody that we've got a relationship with, and we've seen be successful. That's what we'll use to take care of your particular issue.
We share a lot of the same, I guess, ideology as far as like just being non-biased, right? Just it's about the solution. It's not about pushing a particular product or a particular syntax or a particular software package. It's like servicing the client, making sure it's the best solution for them. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, that's right. Go ahead. Next.
No, what I wanted to do was like, well, we're just waxing intellectual and doing predictions. What do you think? What do you think is going to be the next that innovation? It's either going to be in fabrication and manufacturing, or in material handling, or do you think it's going to be more advanced software? Or do you think it's going to be, I don't know, we talked about, we did a project with a client for autonomous vehicle. It's structured, but it's still an autonomous vehicle. Like, do you think that that's going to start moving in to like maybe off some of the rail-based workflows where it's going to be using those types of components? Like any prediction or forecast you like to make, I'm interested.
I think the bigger thing is that you're going to see more nuanced solutions for particular applications. And as those continue to, grow and become, more niche, you're going to see those solutions combined together for whatever the larger system is. So, as I was just noting with some of the, queuing applications, where that used to be, one solution, and, you just tried to tweak it to make it, as close a fit as possible for you. Now there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different solutions that fit into that. Transportation, you were noting AMRs, autonomous mobile robots, right? They're great. People are, looking at them, and they're dynamic, and they can do lots of different things. And, that doesn't displace the fact that there's still good, place to put transfer cars and AGVs and conveyance. So, now we've got more tools at our disposal. The applications are getting more and more nuanced as you see manufacturers look at things differently, and frankly hit different, have different needs, because it's no longer a couple mega giants that are doing everything in a million component runs. The demand from the market to have custom product that's delivered to them is requiring the manufacturing base to look at things differently and be able to provide shorter runs. Well, that has a different need than those old mega million component runs. So
That taps into that market signals that we see too. Like, we're in custom software, so it's great for us, and I'm sure it's great for you guys when you're doing custom, but it's almost like I try to coin it as like it's an anti-SaaS. Like everybody 10 years ago was trying to find the SaaS software tool that worked best for them. And then they would, adjust their process to be in it, but they want to be part of some package. You know what I mean? Like they get a big ERP or a big CRM, they want to be part of that package. And now they're all breaking off saying, no, we want to do it our way. You know what I mean? That attitude.
Yeah, well, it's interesting too. In our space, I think you see a lot of that, and it's fine. It's a model that works for some people, but yeah, in my space, I've seen it really be more of a finance tool. They don't position it that way, but ultimately it is. If that's the best way for you to pay for it, that's great. If you want to have a traditional purchase model, that might be a more efficient solution for you. That might make more sense. But it can also shift it down the pipe a little bit, where somebody who's plant level, who may not have had the authority to get into something quite as robust in the past, now it hits their OpEx instead of their CapEx, and maybe that's useful for them. So, SaaS versus regular financing versus traditional models versus lease models. Yeah, they're all good. It's hopefully you got a good CFO who's doing the right thing for you.
Well, thanks for joining, Patrick. This has been great. I love these topics, and it's always great to talk to you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, can't wait to get you out here.
Yeah, I'm coming. Thanks so much.